Hello everybody, welcome once again to the middle of nowhere. I'm Chase.
And I'm Joby.
And this is the Overrun. So, let's talk about the Miata's powertrain. It makes 181 horsepower and 151 pound-feet of torque. Now, obviously that is not only significantly down on competitors like the GR Corolla, GR86, and the Subaru BRZ, it's also just not a lot on the whole. Of course, as we all know, that's kind of the secret, isn't it? The Miata is light, very light. I think with me in it, it might be 2,500 pounds, maybe. And that's if it's got a full tank of gas. And the great thing about that, in addition to not needing a lot of horsepower to motivate it, is the fuel economy. I have gotten, across my week of driving, which has included 3 trips up here to the canyons, 36 miles to the gallon. 36. And with that in mind, now we're going to go sit inside, talk a little bit more about its competitors, why they have more power, and why maybe the Miata is in fact the answer. And that is the last time we're going to make a Miata cliche, promise. All right, I have here our little window sticker. This car, as spec'd, comes to $37,510. This one has what I consider to be a must on the Miata. That is the BBS Brembo Recaro package. It comes with these lovely Recaro sport seats you see here, even have speakers in the headrest, lighter forged BBS wheels, and most importantly, perhaps, it comes with larger front Brembo brake calipers. They're also painted a very nice shade of red, and the rear ones are as well. Only a little bit of the caliper, which is a little bit weird, but I guess it's all in the name of keeping this under $40,000.
So we're now in the interior of the 2023 Mazda Miata, and honestly, we drove a Mazda SUV not too long ago, but the interior in here is super nice.
That's kind of their shtick, isn't it?
Yeah, they have a really nice interior. All the leather stitching and wrapping around the steering wheel is very nice.
Yeah.
All the touch points, for the most part, are pretty nice. I mean, there's obviously some plastics here and there, but for the most part, everything that you touch feels fairly premium.
Everything you interact with in here, with the exception of like this little plastic on the center console, is really nice. It feels like 39-ish. I mean, like, it feels like the $39,000 interior or $38,000 interior you would get when you're in like an SUV. Normally, as we all know, the sports cars kind of get sacrificed in that regard sometimes. So it's really nice to be in one that does have the nice interior and you know that the money got spent. I really like those, the painted door sills. Those are always painted in every Miata you get. If you get a red one, they're red. If you get a black one, they're black, and so on. They're really cool. I just noticed it the other day, but they kind of like, you know how you can see the fenders like this? Yeah. They kind of like extend the fender. Do you get it now? Yeah. So it kind of feels like once you see that, you can't unsee it, and it feels like the fender starts behind your shoulder. Yeah. This one is $37,500, by the way. Sorry. Yeah, everything in here is really nice. My only real complaint about the interior is that when they went from the NC Miata to the ND, we lost the glove box. Yeah. We lost a lot of storage features in here. Obviously, that was because the NC was also just so much larger and heavier. I was talking to David Coleman, who worked on the ND Miata, and he said that the biggest reason the NC got so much heavier is because they shared the platform with the RX-8, because Mazda said at the time, like, oh, hey, like, it just doesn't make sense to have 2 sports cars on 2 different platforms. They're not going to do enough volume. Yeah. So we got the RX-8 for a little bit, but at the cost of the Miata being the heaviest Miata of all of them. And that's definitely why the NC is kind of the black sheep and the ND is seen as this huge, like, return to form.
Yeah, well, I mean, it has been. I mean, I think the ND has been, I mean, what, it came out in 2014, 2015? 16. But yeah, it's been super well received. I mean, you see them fairly often, even in a place like Colorado. I see them relatively often. Yeah,
if you go to a Cars and Coffee, I mean, it's the Miata, dude. They're like ubiquitous. They're everywhere. One last thing on storage, though. We've talked about it a little bit, but these are super great. They're so awesome. They remove from these little latches back here, and then you can throw them into another separate latch up here, so that when there's no one in here or someone short, you have somewhere to put your drink that's like within arm's reach, which is super clever, really nice touch. I love those. It's probably the only like really great thing about the storage situation in here.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's so shallow.
The center console's not.
I hope they can see it, but like we have two sets of car keys, and it's totally full.
Yeah.
This is deep though.
Yeah, this right here. I mean, there's a water bottle, wallet, sunglasses case, and
it's deeper too. So I learned that. Right, we had the ND1 to ND2 refresh where there were some major changes made. Mazda got rid of the CD player for the ND2. And what that means is that the load floor here, you can see the blank where the CD player, you can see the blank where the CD player used to live. So the floor on that glove box is actually like way lower.
Yeah.
The heated seats work really great. It was super cold when I was up here the other night and I had the top down. It was like 40 degrees, heated seats on, you know, great like fall drive. Everything in here just works. There is zero, it's all function, and then there's some form sprinkled on top. It's fantastic.
Speaking of that, there is also no digital dash, which I really just realized we're a fully digital like cockpit.
Well, Porsche does the exact same thing.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it as a detractor. I'm just saying there's a lot of other cars that are similarly priced that will have something like that. But I mean, there's also plenty of connectivity in other places. There's 2 USB ports here.
That's the other thing. I really wish there was somewhere to put my phone. Because so the solution that I have found so far, and I'm sure that other ND owners have probably kind of figured this out, is you get an extra long USB cable if you're using like Android Auto or CarPlay, and you run the extra long USB cable from the port here under the stereo and back into the glove box, because the port or the cable will fit in this little gap in the glove box. Oh. So you can just throw your phone in the glove box and then you're done. Yeah. But then like if you need your phone, you have to reach for it. Like I really wish that there was like a little net like right here, so that I could stick my phone
in a
little
door card too.
Or in the door card. Well, then if it's because then the cable has to go through the pedal box, you know. So like I bet like the aftermarket has some solutions for that. I know that they sell like little magnetic phone mounts that go on the dash. I just wish there was somewhere like there's this little cubby here at the front under the climate controls, and I really wish that like it was wide enough for a phone, because it just barely is. It's just like if you have like an iPhone Plus model, your phone won't fit anywhere in this interior.
Well, plus if you put the key there, this key is ginormous.
Yeah, the key is pretty big. For no
reason. And so this is a pretty common place that you put your key. And so once you have that, I mean, you really can't fit too much else there.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
Other than that, very happy with the interior. That said, I think it's time to figure out just how this drives.
Okay, we are now driving, or Chase is driving, I'm not obviously. But
driving is a team effort.
Yeah, I'm his co-driver.
Yeah, where's my pace notes?
But so now we want to talk about the drive impressions and kind of our just overall thoughts on the driving experience of the Mazda Miata. So I guess you're driving,
yeah,
so maybe
I'll start.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very classic Miata. There is so much body roll in this car compared to like other, you know, really hot sports cars of the moment. We were just driving the M2, body roll non-existent in corners. I mean, this is just so soft and pliable.
Yeah.
And the result of that is that you can really communicate with the car. The car communes with you in such a great way. You can really feel the limit of adhesion in the tires, which is just so nice to get in a car and immediately be able to feel the limit of the tires. Boy, he wanted to go. He was going. Anyways, you can really just like feel the limit of adhesion in the tires, and the traction control will even let you have a little bit of fun on a closed course before it kind of reins you back in. And I mean, like you've driven it too, like the gearbox, dude. Oh my god.
The first thing I said when I literally just shifted from first to second, and I looked at Chase and I said, I love it already, because the transmission, the shift is so smooth, the flywheel is so light that you don't have to give a ton of throttle to be able to release the clutch.
And that makes heel towing really easy too.
It does.
Because unlike the GR86, which has this crazy pedal spacing where the brake feels way in front of the throttle, the pedal spacing here is perfect. And that's something that I talked about with Dave Coleman, the guy that worked on the ND Miata. You know, he made a point to me during our interview, and he said that you know, you notice it when you get in, but your feet are in line with your shoulders. And the NC, it wasn't like that. The pedal box was shifted. Obviously, like the example that comes to mind is the Lamborghini Murcielago, right? Where the pedal box is super over the side to make room for the trans. Well, I mean, you have to make room for the transmission.
Right.
But I mean, the steering too. The steering is so good. There's this great tactility to the steering. It's super light. I love nice light steering. I know you're a little different, but it's just so nice and light. It's perfectly weighted. I wouldn't call it uber light, but I would definitely say that it feels good. You know, like the weighting is it's medium rare weighting.
Yeah, for me, I think this is the lightest steering that I will accept. Or not accept, but that I generally like.
This is as light as it needs to get for you.
Exactly. But no, the steering is great. It really communicates well what the car is doing, how much grip you have.
That limit of adhesion that you feel in the steering is so nice.
But overall, I mean, it's just a fucking Mazda Miata.
And nothing about that is wrong. It gets the formula so right, and I think that what it proves is that if you take a formula, and Porsche knows this, if you take a formula and you just hone it and refine it over and over and over again and really just like distill it, we're gonna let these guys by. If you take a formula and you just refine and distill and learn when you have made your car too big, too heavy, too compromised, that is how you get a really good sports car. And I can think of a lot of just other brands that like need to learn that lesson. BMW right now really needs, someone at BMW needs to go drive a Miata.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all of their classic sports cars have gotten too heavy, but luckily we still have the Miata. The Miata is one of very few that still exists in this segment, and that really offers the driving experience that this does. And it's awesome, especially through these mountain roads where they're twisty and windy. It's amazing. There's honestly very few other cars.
Under the limit.
Exactly. And the other thing is, you're not going to kill yourself.
We're doing 50 miles an hour right now. I don't have to like mute myself out when I talk about how fast I'm going for the camera. Like 50 miles an hour, and I'm having a great time. I'm 3,000 RPM in fourth. And it's so easy to just like gear down a couple times, get those revs high, nail it, and just run it out. Red line is like 7,200, 7,300 RPM. It's so much fun.
The ND to me is the culmination of what BMW did with the Z3 and the original Z3 and Z4s, what the S2000 was, what the earlier Mazdas, like the RX-7s, the earlier versions. It's just the culmination of all of that into this one fantastic driving experience that you really can't get or find anywhere else.
We're gonna let another bike by. And let's finish on the engine. It doesn't I don't think it sounds great by any means.
No.
But what I do think that it sounds is wonderfully old school and charming. It almost sounds like it has ITBs. There's that little, I'm gonna try and get it for the camera here, listen. The sound of the downshifts is so like crisp and airy. It's so great. And
for a 4-cylinder, it definitely sounds great, and the engine also looks great.
There's no plastic in the fucking engine bay. There's just
not.
I can see coil packs on top of the block. I can see metal block. It wasn't like that with the NC. It really seems like everything that Mazda fucked up on with the NC, they made true and right on the ND.
They fixed it.
And I think that that's probably a really good place to kind of end this, wrap things up, and we'll go ahead and cut to our conclusion now, I guess.
If you're facing a midlife crisis, this is the car for you if you can't afford Corvette. The Miata is a fantastic car. It has been the greatest automotive formula for almost 30 years now, which is kind of insane to think.
It's closer to 30 than 20.
Yeah, it can definitely drink, which is insane. But it's amazing. It's an affordable, fun, and very approachable sports car, especially if you are trying to learn how to drive manual. It's a great car.
Everybody kind of talks about how the Miata can teach you how to drive, and that's really genuinely true. You learn a lot about driving in this car. I went to a location in the rain, turned the traction control off, and was able to just kind of learn how to slide the car around, transition from steady state understeer to oversteer, catch slides. It's a great teacher, and the best part is you're doing all of that under 60 miles an hour, so that inevitably when you fuck up and bin it, at least you weren't doing 80, because then your head will probably be on the hood. On top of that, it's priced relatively competitively. Obviously, as we talked about a little bit earlier, it's quite a little bit is the wrong way to phrase that. It's more expensive than a GR86, but you do kind of get that out of the interior. I still think that the interior is worth the extra money.
Definitely. Yeah.
I would rather be in there all day.
Definitely. And the brakes are great as well.
Yeah.
Which is another
They
big
hold
part
up
of
really
that.
well. I think that they'll take really well to modification, as the Miata so famously does. And we're talking about how good the car is overall, especially for $39,000. That sounds like quite a lot of money. This one is 38 or so, but they go up to 39. Thankfully, depreciation does happen and is a thing, and they're quite affordable. If you try really, really hard, you may even be able to find one that's around $20,000 to $25,000 with a few miles on it. And for that money, the Miata is functionally unbeatable, so long as you can live with the trunk, right?
Yeah, and the lack of practicality that a car like this brings. But then again, if you're buying a car like this, either you know that going into it, or it's your second car that you're just using on the weekends for more spirited driving.
Yeah, I think these are great second cars, but there's also people that drive them during the winter and say that they're great. I would love to put snow tires on one, and this car is so good that I'm genuinely planning on purchasing one, so maybe we'll be able to report back later, much later, and talk a little bit more about, well, how it holds up over the winter. But for now, we're gonna leave it there and end this video and remind everyone to please like, subscribe. It helps us out so very much. Thank you for watching, and have a good one.
Bye!